Welcome to Quick Tip with Joy. If you guys didn't watch my first video on the essentials to start junk journaling, then you want to watch that first. This is kind of the second level of things that you may wish to include in your junk journal journey. So I have kind of pulled out some of the things. I kind of went through and thought about what was the things that I wanted when I first began. Okay, so I've already mentioned about the whole, no, I did not. You're going to want a circle punch more than likely. I would start maybe with a 1-inch punch. You decide. You may want a 3/8 or a 1-inch or a 2-inch. I would not get a punch that is any larger than like a 2.5-inch because I've had like 2 or 3 and they tend to not work very long after that. So this, if it says thick on it, it means it'll go through thicker material. You may wish to purchase something that's a little bit, that'll go through thin and thick. But I would start with a 1-inch. That'd be my choice. Let's get into this other stuff here. You want a hole punch. This punch is a little bit thinner. Let me see if I can find a piece. This one is tinier. You could use a hole punch, a regular hole punch, but you can see that this one is a lot smaller. I didn't even think about pulling out a regular size one. You may have one laying around your house, certainly, but let me show you the difference. See the difference in the hole? If you're going to be putting threads and stuff through, like a bulb pin, I'll show you what that is in a second. You may want a smaller punch. I got this one at Hobby Lobby, and it's the purple handle one. I know the purple handle means something, but I'm not sure what. Oops. Down we go. I dropped it. Okay, some of the other things that you might want. This is some cotton thread. It's Aunt Lydia thread. It would be my preference for a thread to use to, if you want a hand stitch or slow stitch is what it's called, or if you just want to tie on a button or something. This kind of cotton thread is really nice. And you can pick that up at the thrift store. Let me get to this because I've already mentioned a couple of things. These are bulb pins, or gourd pins is what they're called. And excuse my, I'm trying to do all these videos at once, so I've already been painting, as you can see. So let me tell you this. You want to think about what color you're going to buy. I would buy a multi-mix of, the silver, brass, and antique bronze, whatever colors. Charms, a lot of times, if you're adding charms down the road, they're coming silver mainly. I don't know why that is, but you don't use them just for charms. You would add maybe a button or something on it. Let me show you about buttons. If you're going to go buy buttons, I would buy them at a thrift store. You'll get a better variety without paying a lot of money for them. I like the ones with 2 holes versus 4 holes. Doesn't matter. You want one that's flat on the back, or else you have to have wire cutters or cutters to cut off the back, unless you don't care where it hangs. But if you're trying to like place it down on something, you would have to cut that off. So that would be another option. Let me get those out of the way. Some other things are like paper flowers. These have little gems in them. They're kind of pretty, but paper, not necessarily paper flowers. You could use the silk flowers as well. I don't tend to use them as much. I did when I started out. Cheesecloth, if you buy it white or cream color, you can color it any color you want. But I tend to do a lot of stuff with woodland, so I bought me some green. Another option, if you can't find cheesecloth in the colored cloth, which it's a little harder to find now, I know that Hobby Lobby carries it in their spring section in the tablecloths. And you can buy it in a tablecloth, like instead of a regular, it used to come on a roll, and when COVID hit, it kind of quit. Doilies would be another thing I might add to my list. I wouldn't get huge doilies. You don't want doilies that have a lot of space between, the holes. That makes it a little more difficult to put it down on your project. But I would stick with the regular, 6-inch doily or smaller That would be my preference. And they have fabric doilies, and they also have paper doilies. If you're going to put on paper doilies, though, you need some rubber cement, I'm telling you. Okay, different flowers. You know, you don't have to buy paper. You can buy cloth. I already said that. Tweezers would be a good thing to have around. I like, you know, there's so many projects where you're trying to pick up something, hold on to it, glue it, and put it down. You will want probably some ephemera to add to your collection. Numbers, words, different pieces of ephemera. And so that, you know, pick your style, what you think that you might like. You know, a lot of people like vintage to start out. Some like, you know, shabby chic. There's all kinds of, but get a variety. And I would say try to build your stash around what you like, because that's what you're going to do, instead of seeing, oh, there's a freebie over here that I can get. Well, of course, take the freebies, my goodness, and thank them for them, please. But other than that, you just kind of want to get if you have a lot of random freebies and that's the way you're doing it, it doesn't go together in a journal unless you want an eclectic journal. If you're trying to build a certain style, you may want to stay within a certain thing. Now, I would buy the second level needs. I would buy a distress ink. And I tend to like the vintage photo. You pick, okay, so I have bought I have probably 40 distress inks and oxide stuff mixture. I use 1 or 2. So don't overbuy. If you're a newbie, don't overbuy. Just get one color that you think you might like. You want a dauber, and you want the replacement pads for it. So this is what you would stick in your ink. And you don't need the refill quite yet. I mean, if you want to buy a refill and it's the only one you're going to buy, then you might need it within a year, I would guess. Okay, fussy cut scissors. See the smaller level? You know, I showed you the video on scissors and how different they are from tall to big. I find it's easier if you're going to be cutting things out of magazines and books and stuff. Whoops, I'm sorry, didn't mean to shake you guys. Apologize. I like fussy cutting scissors, and the Tim Holtz new ones are wonderful, but they're spring-loaded, so if you have arthritis, these are spring-loaded too. You may prefer to get a spring-loaded versus you have to open it and close it. My thumb, as you can see, I have arthritis in this thumb, and this doesn't go through there very well, and I have to, I don't need it, but on the bigger scissors you do. So anyway, fussy cutting scissors, that's going to be one of the things I'd put on my list. Lace and trims, whatever you like. I would get a thinner lace, and then I would get something about like this. If you get the longer laces, you have to really look at them here, do I have one here? You have to look at them. It's like, okay, this is a really big lace, but how would I use that? I can cut it off. Can I use that? But then this might waste over here. Think about that as you're buying lace, and, buy, if you're just feeling the need to buy, or, I would actually go think about buying clothing at the thrift store and taking off the buttons and the lace and the trims and using the material. It's a way cheaper way to do it than buying fabric at the fabric store. That's for sure. If you don't like this all ruffly, you just clip it back here, and then you just pull the thread out, and then that top part comes off, and it makes it flat for you too. That's another option. One of the very first things that I would purchase would be some sort of a script stamp. This one's like my favorite, and I think I just pull it because it has a variety. It has like bigger print here, little print here. It has print over there. It has this, I love this fun line here. This is a Tim Holtz Ledger Script CMS 241, if you're interested in just that one. They make all kinds of them. So pick one you like. I would get one that doesn't have something specific in it, that is just like ledger stuff. Because if you get one that has kind of a script and then it has like a butterfly in it, then what if you're doing something that doesn't include butterflies? Something to think about. You might get some fabrics. This is more like duck type cloth. You might get something along the style that you like. Certainly you can get clothing that does whatever. I brought this one out just, you might want to buy a cutter. This is not called a cutter. What is it called? Yeah, you guys know what this is called. Anyway, it's a cutter of a sort. But buy a big one. And I've done a whole thing on my favorites of this, so watch that video. This one, though, is if you want small stuff, I would not buy a little one until you have purchased a big one, at least. This is called a Score Buddy. I also would buy a larger one of a Scoreboard versus the smaller one. And if you buy a Scoreboard, it comes already with a bone folder, which is one thing I would include. If you're not going to buy a Scoreboard, buy a bone folder, because it helps you to bend your paper, crease your paper. And some cutters already have a Scoreboard built in also. So if you buy a Scoreboard that has one, you may not need a Scoreboard. You know, it might have a certain attachment that goes with it. Napkins would be a good thing for second level, I would say. You can use these in a variety of ways. Now, what I would suggest with napkins is you might want to have some open space and some pretty space, because a lot of times when you're putting it on a project, you may want to decoupage it on and be able to see what's behind it. If you have like script down on the bottom layer and then you decoupage this on top, you may want it to have a peekaboo. So that would be something to think about. Don't buy a whole bunch. Oh my gosh, don't buy a whole bunch. You may want to go up to bookboard. Bookboard's a little thicker. You can get it way different thicknesses. So bookboard, along with the napkin, you can get tissue paper. Tim Holtz certainly makes tissue papers, but you can use just regular tissue paper and make your own. You know, you can stamp out your own if you want, or write on it with a permanent pen or something. And okay, but then back to this. This is bookboard. Instead of using cereal boxes, this would be your next step up to buy bookboard. And then you may wish to buy a choice of either a digital or a scrapbook paper. Nowadays, people tend to go to the digital downloads because they can get more of what they want. They're a little less expensive. However, you do have to remember that you got to buy the ink and you got to buy the paper. And so it probably washes, you know. But watch to make sure that you're getting a double-sided or a single-sided, whichever your preference is. I use some for one thing and some for the other. If you're going to use it as pages in your book, you want thinner, a little bit thinner cardstocky paper. Okay, because if this folds, it will crack. It may crack if you're using a bunch. If you're going to use a thicker, you definitely want to use a Scoreboard in order to do it. But get you some papers you like, whatever they are. And if you use digitals, make sure that you buy, I prefer, this is my preference, I prefer at least a 24-pound paper. I really prefer the 28 or 32-pound paper. That's my preference. And then for a cardstock, for ephemera, at least 65 pounds, more like an 80-pound paper. That is cardstock is what I would purchase. This is for newbies. This information, it's to kind of help anybody that might be starting out. I hope it helps you. I hope that you do like and continue on the journey with junk journaling, because it's a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. If you like what I've said, please give me a thumbs up. Share it if you like with someone that hasn't, that you want to bring into junk journaling. And then subscribe, ring the bell, choose all when you ring the bell, and you'll get all notifications. As for today, remember your day is full of choices, so choose joy. I'll see you next time.